The consequences of climate change are being blamed on certain groups of people. So, for example, in conservation, it's very common that there are development projects to help what they love to call local people or local communities live more sustainable lives. And this is really disturbing to me, because if you look at the CO2 footprint of average people around the world, we are the ones who, I mean in the West, right, in the proverbial West, are the ones who are the highest consumers.
Yeah.
Yet there are no projects to make my life more sustainable. And there are no laws in place that limit my CO2 footprint. None. I can fly as much as I want, I can buy as much meat as I want, I can buy as much crap as I want, and there will be no NGO at my door telling me to limit this for the sake of climate change. Whereas for a lot of people across the globe, this is the reality, right? It'll be like they are reliant on, in Uganda, this was the case, for example, where people live next to a national park where I was working, and they had to go into the national park, which obviously they didn't choose that would be a national park. For them it's just their backyard, and they would get wood for fire, and this was then regulated, and they would get medicines, and this was then regulated, and this is uncomfortable to me, right? Or projects where people get electric cookers so that they don't cook on wood, which is how they would do it traditionally, and it's just imposed, and it's getting resources becomes a punishable offense for which you can go to prison. And I've seen in Tanzania people go to prison right in front of my eyes. They were arrested for killing a giraffe, but it's okay for a tourist to do it because they pay a lot of money, and that money is supposed to go into conservation. And this, I think, is really disturbing, because we have a classification of who is allowed to, basically white people are allowed to destroy the planet, but people of color aren't, and we are not the ones reliant on those resources as much as the people of color who sometimes, especially in rural settings, are just reliant on certain resources, but that doesn't mean that their CO2 footprint is high. It's actually very, very low compared to us, and I think we question much more those practices than ours.